Oh, now it says we're live. All right. Well, whatever. I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg. Although weirdly on my screen, see, you're usually on the left, I'm on the right. This time I'm on the left and you're on the right. So arguably, I'm Brent Leary and you're Paul Greenberg.
Yeah, we know there was a monkey wrench that was thrown into our beginning. You'll find out what that monkey wrench is in a little bit. But yes, we are the three. We are the three. We are the CRM players. And wow, look, we got our moment is Finn back.
Thank God, man. Latin. Although it's weird. He has the word interesting in there. I'm not sure why that's there, but
it says ipsum, so I'm going with Latin.
Oh, it's Latin. It's definitely Latin.
Oh, wait a minute. Now he's correcting himself here.
Yeah, but it's still Latin.
Something about spectacular and is that right? Interesting. That's how you say interesting in Latin.
No, that's the part that's throwing me a little bit, but it's definitely Latin.
Spectaculum is that,
that's a Google translation of a word it probably missed.
We're happy to have you back too, Sven.
Oh my God, yeah. Welcome back.
So our guest is in, Sven. We're both agreed on Latin, so let us know if we're correct or not.
Am I in as a co-host, maybe?
No, what happened is somebody that is on my account got in before I did and brought you in. That's what happened.
Yeah, because right now, we're sorry about all this technical stuff, folks, but right now I literally see who's in the green room and who isn't.
Well, you should, because I added you to my account as a not an administrator, but as a co-host kind of person. So
yeah, that must be it, because I must be a co-host, because other than I've never seen that before.
Yes. Well, I added it a while back, but I don't know.
It never happened, so it's finally worked.
But yeah, there's a little bit of a monkey wrench because I usually bring you into the broadcast, but I didn't do that today. I just was logged in and you were already there with one of our he's not a guest, so I'm not going to call him a guest. One of the faces of PPN. Let's put it like that.
That's right.
One of the faces of PPN.
Wolf Blitzer.
No, not that face. Thankfully. Wait a minute. What is this? Sorry. LinkedIn user.
Yeah, I wonder who that is.
Yeah, we'll find out. I figure
it's probably Wolf Blitzer.
Yeah, that would be really something if it was Wolf Blitzer. Anyway, we are the CRM players, and we have been bringing the ass, and I make sure to pronunciate the Z.
Pronunciate
or pronounce or
pronounce.
Where's the Z?
Yeah, but just to show you how badly we're starting, where's the screen for that?
I didn't have time for that this week.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is a special show. This is one of those shows where I don't know what's going to happen. We bring together some really smart people who don't mind sharing their opinions on topics of note, and we just get out of their way for the most part.
Right. Basically, all we do is provide them with those topics of note, aka noted topics.
Ooh, noted topics here, folks. That's what you're coming here for. Anyway, that'll take place in a couple of minutes, and we'll bring everybody out, do a little introductions, and we got the topics lined up. Actually, I just saw one of our
me too
debaters. Oh, that's right. Yeah, now
I can see it now. Finally, first time. It's like I have new eyes.
You've got new eyes.
That's right.
Those eyes are made for looking, ain't they? That's some good stuff. All right. Before we get into
those boots are made for walking.
What's a Dusty Springfield or Buffalo Springfield?
No,
Dusty
come
Buffalo?
on, no. You got to know who did that.
I'll give you
the hint. I'll give you a big, huge hint.
This ain't Stumper Brent here. I mean,
the daughter of a very famous.
Oh, what, Sinatra?
Singer. Yeah, Nancy Sinatra.
Dusty Sinatra?
Yeah. Well, I mean, she was kind of dusty, but well, I'll tell you, when I was a teenager, I had a crush on her.
What's her name?
Nancy
Nancy
Sinatra.
Sinatra.
Yep.
All right. Well, wasn't there a singer named Dusty Springfield or
Oh
Buffalo?
yeah. But
I don't know.
did not sing "Boots Are Made for Walking."
Oh, okay. Well, shoes that jingle, jangle, jingle, or spurs.
No,
Anyway,
I
I don't know.
forget what was the Dusty Springfield's big song. She had a big one.
Well, that'll be the next Stump the Godfather question. But we are on hiatus for Stump the Godfather because we do
I
have a
knew it.
special show. We have
Thank
a
God. I was hoping so much, right, that was the case.
we have a special show because this is the first great debate of 2024 for the CRM Playaz. Last year's went over so well that we needed.
Yeah, we had to wait an entire year before we felt comfortable enough to bring it back.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe. But yeah, no, it's gonna be fun. We actually went to the happy hour crew yesterday and asked them what would be some really potentially good topics, subjects to put forth in front of our 4 debaters. And well, yeah, they didn't come up with much, so we had to come up with some.
Well, no, to be fair, I mean, they came up with things that are, let's say, on the list.
They're on the list. They are on the list. Yeah. So, but we had a really good happy hour yesterday.
Yeah, it was fun actually.
Yeah.
We had getting some new people now, which is always fun.
And we had there were some thoughts about one of those big kind of industry things that happened earlier this week, excuse me. That really wasn't on the radar for most of us in the CRM space, probably up until like last year, and now it definitely is. And that is the main keynote for NVIDIA GTC's conference with Jensen Huang. This has now become something that we have to pay a lot of attention to in the CRM CX space, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, ultimately, obviously Gen AI sparked it, but the chips. Look, NVIDIA has been, chip leader forever. They're always the one. Even look, AMD just was trying to catch up to them, but NVIDIA, from a business standpoint, from a standpoint of me as a gamer or anyone as a gamer, really, I mean, these are the market leaders, and there's nobody even close, really. AMD is the only one on the gaming side that can even make a case. But what they've come up with since, because of what AI's the necessary computational power for extremely scaled, because not just scaled in the sense of the way we think of it. Oh, it's a multiple of 100. This is like the multiple of millions, right? They've literally developed the necessary hardware, the chips for that, which is Blackwell, and the CPU is Grace, I think, right? So it was mind-blowing. And I personally, technically, that thing was so far over my head, it was ridiculous. But I was utterly inspired at the same time by my imagination as to not what they are planning on having someday down the line, but what they already have done, right? These are done, right? They're not in beta in that regard. What they've already done just boggles the human mind.
And do you know how many decimal points there are in a teraflop, by the way? I'm just curious.
Yeah. 1,000 billion.
That's close enough for me.
Yeah,
anyway.
trillion. It's a trillion, I think.
All right, that sounds good. Trillion here.
Floating points. Hi, Sahil.
Hey, look who's back. Good to see you.
Hey, man.
And matter of fact, anybody out there, just let us know. Say hi. Let us know you're out there. We're going to get started in a couple of minutes with the debate portion. We're going to bring out our friends that are also some of the smartest folks in the industry. Paul will do what he does with his intros, and then here's how it's going to work.
That'll leave us 5 minutes for the debate.
Yeah, you're going to have to do the abbreviated version of the intros, but here's how it's going to go. We have come up with 3 topics. we're going to give each topic 10 minutes for everybody to kind of talk about and express their opinion, say where they stand, say if they don't agree with somebody else's stand, and maybe there'll be some last stands, who knows. But 3 topics, 10 minutes each.
Floating.
Get out of the way and see what our panel of experts have to say. I think it's going to be fun.
Me too, especially given who the 4 people on this panel are.
Yes, but before we do that, a little preview debate, maybe.
Hey,
Possibly.
Michael.
Oh, look at this. Stump first, please. Nope, sorry. This is a special show. So we're going to kind of do away with some of our regular segments because we want to have, bring everything together a little quicker. And LinkedIn user, sorry, it's just 12. Sorry, it's just 12.
He means 12 zeros.
Oh, good Lord.
Which is a quadrillion.
Oh, look who it is. Mr. Michael W. Thomas, one of the photogs that have come out of the CRM industry. We like to call him the 3 mics, and he's one of them.
So speaking of which, great lead in, Brent. So on EWPK, Engage with Paul and Kenny, next week, that would be Wednesday, what is that, the 27th at 7 p.m., we are doing a show called The 3 Mics, although so far only 2 of the mics have committed. So I'm waiting on the 3rd. But here's the deal. As it turns out, 3 of the best photographers I know who come out of our industry all happen to have the name Mike. Mike Fawcett, Michael Thomas, and of course, Michael Krigsman. Those 3, we want to have Michael Thomas and Mike Fawcett minimally, and hopefully with Michael Krigsman. We're going to have a show next week to talk about not their skills in the enterprise, which are prodigious, but to talk about their photography skills, their specialty areas, show some of their images, and we're going to talk about everything ranging from their eye to the equipment they use, to tips that they could give other photographers. And when you see some of the beautiful images that all 3 of them have, and they're very different in terms of their what they focus on, you'll be blown away. And these are experts who, if they weren't in our world, would easily fit well into professional photographers' world. Easily be stars there.
So be on the lookout.
Next Wednesday, 7 p.m.
It's like the 3 tenors. It's the 3 mics. It's kind of like that. Right?
3 tenors drop the mics.
That's what Michael just said. How can a
mics
mic drop the
dropped it,
mic? Yeah, that's a little bit too much. Anyway, so I think things are set. We're ready. I see all 4 of the debaters. Oh, I don't know if it's going to be a debate.
Well, we'll see. Whatever it ends up, it ends up.
It's what is it? Case
Or
what
will be.
Yeah.
Now we'll get Doris Day on to sing.
Okay, so I'm going to turn things over to the Venerable Paul Greenberg for a very brief introduction to our 4 conversationalists, debaters. I don't know, 4 people that we really respect and know. They know all what's going on in the industry and are really, we're glad that they're going to share it and have a discussion around it. So with that, I turn things over to the Venerable Paul Greenberg.
Well, the only way I can do this in a short time is I'll do it kind of jointly, I guess. We have 4 extraordinary minds. Okay, 1, Esteban Kolsky, who is what we now call the not analyst. 2 is we have John Reed, the Brohammer of Diginomica. 3, Sheryl Kingstone of 451 Group. And 4, Bob Stutz, who, of course, has been, I'll call him the godfather of CRM technology. All 4 of them are just completely market aware, really, really smart people that I've literally, their word is law when it comes to when I read their stuff. I don't make assumptions that, oh, well, they're just guessing. They know what they're talking about. They can defend anything they say. And at the same time, their range of subject matter is just wide. And They are aware of they're not, I don't like calling them trends. They're aware of how the markets move. They're aware of individual companies. They're aware of the people in these industries. They're aware of the movement of the industry into new areas and innovation. And they all have, let's say, very strong opinions as such. So with that, let's introduce Esteban Kolsky, John Reed, Sheryl Kingstone, and Bob Stutz. That's as short as I could do, man.
And thanks, and we'll see you next week. Because that's no, I'm just kidding. Plenty of time left for great conversation. So first of all, thanks to everybody for making time to join us, and they're joining us without knowing what we're going to ask them, or there's no script involved here. There could be blanks coming back from us, or it could be like we got to cut their mics off because they all want to talk so much about something. We have no idea how this is going to go, and that makes it fun.
Cheryl, you're pointing at me, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Just hands.
I'm literally, me and Brent will be the two quiet people here.
There's going to be some indiscriminate pointing going on, apparently. So I wasn't really expecting that part, but we're good with that.
The only question I have is, you said there's no script, but you guys sent me a list of things I'm not allowed to say last night.
Well, that's just general list.
I didn't get a list of things I'm not allowed to say.
Yeah, well.
We are taking a bit of a chance because
John's already calling it. So we have John who's calling BS and Bob whose show is no BS. Yeah. So I mean, and this is going to be.
We really should have run the disclaimer since we do have Esteban on, but we're going to live dangerously here.
I'll behave today. I won't say a single fucking bad word.
All right, there it is. All right, so we have 3 topics that Paul and I agreed upon. We got some feedback from some of the folks in the happy hour, and then we kind of just put 3 topics together. So what we're going to do is do one topic at a time. We're going to give you guys 10 minutes to discuss whatever you want to around that topic. Maybe there'll be some follow-ups. Feel free to ask each other stuff. Fisticuffs if you need to come to blows.
That would be amazing if they could pull that one off.
Some virtual
love
fisticuffs.
to see that happen.
All right. So with all that said, we've got the first topic, and that would be topic number 1. All right. Well, we had to get AI out of the way, so we didn't want to spend the whole 40 minutes talking about it. So we figured we'd do the first topic. Does AI change the role of CRM and CX in developing corporate strategy? Will it elevate CRM CX's importance in the corporate strategy? Anybody want to jump in and take the first whack at it? Feel free. All right, Esteban's hand goes. Why did I not?
After his finger went down his throat, his hand is the first up.
Actually, AI is a distraction, so you shouldn't. What's next?
Okay.
It's a distraction. Look, your corporate strategy shouldn't change because you have a technology that changes the way we do things, or else we'll be doing the same for every 10 years. So it's a distraction. So you can continue to focus on what actually you do over the long run, and what you're supposed to do.
Unfortunately, it's not a distraction. It's a hammer. It's an automated hammer that's going to be frequently misused and abused. And unfortunately, it's going to give corporate executives the idea that they can save a lot of headcount in their customer-facing operations by rolling out tools that are mostly not ready for prime time and not ready for one-on-one interaction with customers. So that's the big concern that I have about it. Having said that, I do think that a lot of organizations are going to be properly cautious about exposing these tools to customers. So I don't view CRM as the top area for generative AI investments right now. Having said that, I think CRM is still very important. I mean, if you look at SaaS software spending in CRM right now, it's one of the top areas. So I don't think we should sweat that too much.
Okay, so wait. No, let's just get something on the table. When you're saying the question is around corporate strategy, are you asking the importance of technology or how the technology is changing corporate strategy as it relates to the use of these new AI or generative AI technologies? I was a little bit unclear on the question.
I would go with the closer to the latter. I mean, look, ultimately, we're asking the impact of AI on customer-facing strategy at a company.
And yeah, I do agree with John. I don't think it's a distraction at all. And I'm not sure I understood what John was saying, how it's not going to change CRM or it's not going to change budgets. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't listening. But I do see that all our data points to that investments in generative or predictive AI is primarily around the CX use cases. So we ask respondents across the board, and a lot of it, number one, is of course customer service and support, as John was saying, because it is top of mind there. Hopefully they'll start realizing it's not going to replace the people that they already have. It's going to augment. I agree with John, but it's also, marketing and sales. So, and, from there, it goes down to IT and helping them. So will it change the face of CRM? It's going to change the way we look at the data and the processes. And I don't think it's a distraction either. I think we have to understand what it's good at and what it's not good at and go from there.
I'm going to let Bob say something before I ask
actually think it's a distraction, and I'll tell you why. Because it's just like every other new piece of tech that comes out. Let's take voice as an example, right? When voice came out, all of a sudden everybody said, oh, we need to have voice. What happened to all the vendors? They went and jumped through hoops to put voice in the product. Guess what? None of those customers use that voice today, right? Yeah. AI is not new. Let's talk about photo recognition, right? How many years ago did photo recognition, which, by the way, is AI, every vendor jumped through the hoops to put photo recognition into their products, right? Whether it be some form of the marketing product, some form of service, right? You saw those funky examples where somebody tweeted a picture of a shoe and then, it went to some service agent, right? Let's be clear. Every time there is a new tech trend, it is a distraction about solving the real issues that face CRM CX. The tech is not solving those issues at the end of the day. First of all, data, first and foremost, is still siloed in an enterprise. I don't care what anybody says. I've worked with probably every one of the Fortune 500, and I can tell you the data is siloed. There is no consolidation of data. So unless you have consolidation of data, guess what? Gen AI doesn't really work because you can't still get, it's the same problem with everybody saying customer 360.
That's actually not correct. You can have some focused Gen AI use cases around specific areas. I do agree with you, Bob, and I completely agree on your data silo point. But one of the reasons that Gen AI is actually useful in the enterprise, and this is just in a modest way, I point out, not in a super sexy way, is that it's essentially neutered and focused on a very narrow problem, and that's when it's actually somewhat useful. So, for example, I've seen customers using this live around service and support where they have modest improvements, and it's very focused, because if they try to solve the data problems you're trying to solve in order to use Gen AI, they would never be able to do it.
Marketing is another use case where if you use it correctly, right? Marketing is a focused use case.
Yeah.
Where it actually can be very productive and can eliminate a lot of repetitive tasks that are there.
So is service, right? Like John said. I agree. So I don't see it as a distraction. I think you have to address it.
Well, I see it as a distraction because companies get sidetracked. Instead of continuing to focus on the real issues, which are customer experience, which is still like shit in every single look. Right. Call any call center today. The experience is still crap at the end of the day, right? We haven't solved those problems.
Well, you're missing the point. You keep going around and you're missing the point. It could be useful, yes, but the investment and the need to learn something that you don't need to learn because you can solve it in an easier way, it's not worth it to the enterprise to put that money into that fucking distraction when you can just put it into somewhere else and get a better result. The stupid people that say that they can replace 700 agents, what was it, Clarva, whatever the name is. I mean, we could replace 700 agents. Did you? Well, no. Then you didn't do anything that you couldn't do before.
If I can just,
if I can advantage of the distraction.
But Esteban, I agree to a large extent, but there's a problem that needs to be crystallized here, which is that the reality is this is actually in an enterprise context. If you use it correctly, it's a very unsexy, practical tool that has some modest use cases, and people don't like that because it's not sexy enough. But at the same time, companies are seeing the valuations. They just referred to NVIDIA. All these vendors are receiving an AI dividend, and companies are paying attention to that. And so they're getting excited by the sex appeal. And it's completely unrealistic for you to think that companies aren't going to look at that, because most of these companies we're talking about are publicly traded, and they're paying attention to their competitors.
Yeah, but it is for the wrong reason. They're looking at it because, right? Because what they're thinking in their mind is, oh, this allows me to cut X amount of headcount.
100%. Yes.
Right? They're going to use it. They're looking
they're going to use it to misuse customer experience and make it worse, is how I believe, what I believe.
But so then we go back to this is a distraction. The investment could go somewhere else for better results. And it doesn't alter the strategy, which is still to do the things that you did before in a better way. Look, there's two stark realities of AI. Number one, Gen AI does what 80% of people can do, maybe 90% in some cases, which is the same as any other automation tool from the last 20 years could do. So there's no revolution there. And number two, that if people don't focus on the actual outcome of what they're trying to do with AI, they're trying to do something, but they don't know what the outcome is going to be. So they're just blindly going into behind the stupid squirrel to see if they can find where the squirrel stores the nuts, but nobody gives a crap about what those nuts are. So it's a distraction. Put the money to something that that is going to work and do a better job.
And where would you have them put their money? Because I do feel that we do have to focus on the data architecture, as Bob said, right? AI can play a very large role in creating all of that. We also have to put a lot of, if I look at my maturity model, it starts at processes, right? So where are we going with the processes and connecting all the dots so that we can act on that data? So that's not a distraction. But we could use these tools as part of the process identification. We can use these tools as part of the data identification. There's a lot of unstructured data out there that we now have the ability to tap into. You can argue with me all you want, but there is a lot of unstructured data out there.
No, Sheryl, you're absolutely right. But there's always been a lot of unstructured data.
Exactly, that we've never tapped into, Bob.
No,
and we still can.
No, you're right.
It doesn't solve any problems.
The problem with unstructured data. You're right. There's a lot of unstructured data, a lot of signals out there that can be captured, that can give a better customer experience. The problem is getting companies to actually bring that data in, because a lot of it is outside data. It's not data that they own themselves, right?
Well, that's definitely true. But just very quickly, I documented on Diginomica a use case of a customer that found a really good use for customer-facing service bot. And what they were able to do in a modest way was they don't have to hire level 1 support at the same rate, and they transition their other support reps to do more upselling and cross-selling. And it's enabled them to grow and be successful. It's a tool, Esteban. It's not.
Let me ask you a question. Could they have done the same with the virtual agent in 2005?
No.
Yes.
No.
If they would have done a good job, they could have.
No. Because
you're getting into my world now.
Esteban, no, it's different. The architecture, absolutely not. The architecture is different. It's
very
different. It pulled information.
No, it's not.
Yes,
you got 1 minute.
No, it's not. Vector data.
1 minute.
Read the fucking article. It's different.
One article versus 10 years of experience.
The reality was those assistants back then were not capable.
You can't tell me that you can do today.
All right, guys. All right, guys.
You cannot
I'm
tell
going
me
to start cutting mics off.
You could not do 10 years ago. I promise you could do it if you wanted to.
I'm going to start cutting mics off. We got to run. This has been great.
That's hilarious.
I hated to stop it, but we have,
You
believe
literally
it or not, we
got
have a
cut
couple
1 minute
other
early.
topics to go. I'm sorry.
You got cut 1 minute early.
Yeah, because
I
it
agree
was
with
a little.
John.
We had to make you stand
Get
in
a little
the corner
hot
for
here.
that one.
All right, let me do
Bob,
this.
it's you and I against the new cameras. Okay?
Let me do this. Let me just ask each of you, distraction or not, for what we just talked about. Esteban, I'm guessing you're saying it is a distraction, right?
It is a distraction.
Bob.
It is, because corporations tend to get focused on these tech things and forget about the other things that can really improve customer experience in an enterprise.
Okay. Sheryl, distraction or not?
Not a distraction whatsoever, because I see that early adopters of technology that can use it are leapfrogging others that don't.
All right, Brohammer.
It's a useful tool, but unfortunately, I'm afraid right now it's more dangerous than distracting because it's going to be abused, and that's really concerning.
Okay.
All right, got him on record for that. God, that was great. I almost didn't want to end it, but hey, we got topics 2 and 3. All right, next up, once again, 10 minutes.
But by the way, just wait till the enterprises start getting the copyright infringements lawsuits that are coming, because they've used Gen AI to generate shit that's copyrighted. It's coming.
You watch my hand as this goes on. When you see that, it's 2 minutes. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna look for that, Paul. Absolutely, thank you.
All right, moving on to topic 2.
We can mute remotely.
That's right. Are no-code, low-code platforms as big a deal as they're being positioned to be? How should it impact buying decisions? Whoever wants to start it off.
Yeah, I'll fight it, because then they'll yell at me and they won't let me talk anymore. So I'll say it first. They're actually a much bigger issue than people understand. And the reason that it's much bigger issue is because people don't understand what it is. They think that it's just a way to create cheap code, but it has nothing to do with that. So it's a much bigger issue than most enterprises give credit. Wow.
I'll just say, look, I think low code, no code platforms are important, only because I do think it helps. It really does help the cost structure of an enterprise when they're trying to modify their cloud-based software. However, I will say that, as AI technology becomes more and more prevalent, and you actually not Gen AI, but real AI, and we talk about true automation and the ability to generate code and things like that, I think those tools will become less and less important over time.
Can I actually position that we called it low code, no code interface instead of platforms, since there's no real platform behind, but it's just an interface to a platform?
That's not true, Esteban. There are real platforms in low code, no code.
So just real quick, I think maybe the one thing we agreed upon in the last segment is that you can't plug tools into a flawed strategy and get a good result. The same goes here. If you don't have good business technology alignment and collaboration, then these tools aren't going to be very useful, because what they're ideal for is helping to bridge the gap there and help business users articulate what they want from a results perspective and have that translated into a form that IT can more easily use. And on the reverse, some of these can also help IT folks build better building blocks to deliver better applications sooner. The thing that I really hate, though, is when people say, oh, well, you can build beautiful apps with low code, no code. That's such an insult to the best developers that are out there. The best development has a form of artistry that engages users, and it's really, really insulting to claim that a business user can just say, oh, make me this, and the tool goes out and makes this beautiful application. That's not what it's for.
So I agree with, I haven't said anything here. I think John and I are more aligned. So I think the no code, low code is overhyped, right? Because it's about saying that anyone can create anything. And it's like, you can give me a paint and a paintbrush, and that doesn't mean I'm able to paint anything. And just because I'm able to potentially code something, I might have no clue what I'm coding, right? I don't know where the data is. I don't know. I might be able to just mock something up, but it really depends on what the problem is you're trying to solve. You're going to give a marketer a low code, no code tool to do what? You're going to give it to customer service agents to do what? So it doesn't matter that it's low code, no code. Do I have the time of day to go out and create an application? If I'm marketing, my job is to make sure that I'm generating customer acquisitions, right? And where it's trying to go. Is my job on customer service and support? No, right? So is the no code, low code tools for IT to make sure that they're able to create applications quicker? Fine. Is it for the pro, less technical one that needs some guidance within each department? Sure, but a lot of it is really overhyped.
Well, the original concept was that you could bring in a low code, no code platform to replace IT people and take IT people out of the mix. That was the original premise when these platforms came out, because IT departments were really expensive. Now, over the years, some of these platforms are actually very good. And Jan, look, no, you're not going to build some super duper application with these things, right? But look, there are a lot of companies who have done wonders with low code, no code, being able to build add-ons on top of an application, right? Because they have the business acumen where they can actually do that. And look, these things have been around for decades. The very first one to hit the market was People Tools back years ago with PeopleSoft. And the number of people, non-technical people, who built actually nice applications in People Tools was pretty tremendous.
Was authoring.
They really.
It was even before. It was even before then. We had QBE and Microsoft.
Yeah, that's right. You had QBE before that, but
the thing is, like,
really was the first big one to come along.
If low code, no code takes its place in the enterprise and people understand what it does, it will replace all the Excel that is being used out there for no reason. And if you replace Excel, the real value. Hold on, let me finish. The real value of replacing Excel is the fact that by putting it in a place where the enterprise can access the data versus in a spreadsheet, now I have access to corporate data that I can still use for my purposes as a user, but the enterprise can also access. That's the real value of low code, no code. That's why I say most companies don't understand the value of it, because it's just.
And let's not forget the low code, no code.
But it should be embedded in the application we're using, right? It really is about creating a user experience that all the users
but most people today,
they're doing.
Most people today download that data into Excel, and they use it in Excel, and they don't have access to it anymore.
So
I want to replace that.
So what's going to become useful, I think, from a Gen AI perspective here in the low code context, is making it even easier for business users to articulate in normal language what they're looking for, and turn that into automated applications and processes.
That's right.
And then have those solutions validated by IT, but not have an IT bottleneck. And I think that's overall very good for everyone. However, just to throw some gasoline on the fire, I really hated Jensen Huang of NVIDIA's comments a couple weeks ago about how there's going to be no more developers and that AI is going to liberate us from all of that. That is just such a cavalier attitude towards systems that have enormous ethical implications on how we're going to live. We need people who are incredibly literate in how algorithms are constructed and how these systems are built and designed. And kids need to be learning that. And that's so ridiculous. It's like saying, oh, well, because it can write, we no longer need writers. Well, because it can think, we no longer need critical thinkers. Absolutely ridiculous propaganda. And this is what enterprise buyers are really faced with right now, is that some of these vendors who are nonetheless, NVIDIA is really executing on this compute power thing, so give them credit, but they're spewing this bullshit that is obscuring like the realities of what we're going to be dealing with in this world, and it's really bothering me.
All right, that's a clean break. So do we want to just take one yes or no? Is low code, no code as big a deal as has been kind of positioned? Esteban.
Bigger than most people understand, because they don't see the repercussions of it.
Wow.
I agree with Esteban, and if it wasn't for low code, no code, you wouldn't have the largest vendor in CRM today around, because that's actually how they became big, was low code, no code.
Sheryl.
Yes, absolutely. But like Bob said, it has to be part of the application that you're using today and not an outside new vendor that's going to come in and complicate everything.
Brohammer.
I take it seriously, but if the business IT gap in your organization is too big, these tools are going to fall right into it.
All right. Wow, we made it through two, Paul.
Well, sort of.
I'm still getting over that first one. All right. So this is the last topic, topic number 3. Once again, we give 10 minutes, and the topic is, what is overblown in the market today? Can we just stipulate, if somebody says, we'll say AI, if you want to say AI, we'll get on to that. But is there anything else in the market overblown today? What is being overlooked and maybe getting lost in the Gen AI shuffle? So what is overblown and what is getting overlooked? Esteban, you.
I kick it off, because then everybody says something. I can never say anything else. But I mean, what's overlooked today, you know what it is? It's really this really little tiny insignificant thing called the cloud.
All right, you got to explain.
Most people just assume that the cloud is a given, but we haven't even reached the full benefit of what a true distributed computing and a true cloud can do. And the infrastructure behind it hasn't been embraced by not even like 10% of organizations. Once you actually embrace the infrastructure of distributed computing, the cloud, and what you can really do, then all this shit that we're discussing becomes completely irrelevant, because then we have an infrastructure that we can do whatever we want on top of that, and distractions become literally ephemeral. I don't expect anybody to agree, but you asked me what my opinion is, so that's my opinion.
Well, at the risk of kicking a trend when it's down, the metaverse was such an overblown, ridiculous piece of crap, and all the vendors that were involved in overblowing that and deciding, huddled in Silicon Valley, that this was going to be the next best thing, should be ashamed of themselves. And there's a lot of them, and that includes Accenture, by the way. And you know, we just need to move beyond this and realize once again that there are tools that we apply to problems, and we don't get to create the trends. The trends are defined by the people and organizations that are trying to solve problems, not by pundits, not by Silicon Valley, not by venture capital. As far as the things that are being overlooked, I'm going to give you two of them that are really different. One is ESG. I don't care if you have your head in the sand about climate change, don't care about that. That's your problem for another time. ESG has a lot of compliance-based realities coming for companies across the globe that are highly nuanced, and vendors are generally behind on this, and so are companies. So, and this is going to impact your supplier relationships and supplier management also. And the other thing I think is overlooked is just that in the algorithmic economy we live in, we don't surface the kind of content we need to solve problems. Like, to me, this is gold that you guys have created today, this kind of environment, this kind of exchange. But do you know that on LinkedIn, you still can't subscribe to this show? That's absolutely pathetic. And I bothered LinkedIn about this many times. I would just urge all of our audience to realize that we do not live in a content meritocracy, and we are allowing engagement on social feeds to qualify as a proxy for quality, and it's different. Engagement and quality are not the same. Engagement is loaded with self-promotional bullshit, and quality is hard to find. Trust me, I curate quality content every week, and I need RSS news feeds to do it because the social networks fail at this.
Yeah.
So let's do
So
better.
I was actually going to say the similar thing around the data and the content. So content is overlooked, and it really needs a backbone to understand and manage, along with the data that's driving it. I think we are only on the early cusp of doing this. And Bob pointed out at the beginning of the conversation, we've been dealing with automated metadata tagging for 2-3 decades now, but yet we haven't really capitalized on that opportunity. And now we have content so important to our execution and video, and it's all changing. So I do think there's going to be a lot around the content and how we're managing that supply chain. But what's totally overblown is the term, and I've said this for about a decade now, the term CDP. Right? Because at the heart of every application out there from a customer standpoint is a data platform, right? So now that Salesforce was saying they have the CDP, well, fundamentally, what did they have 2 decades ago? So what's changed is the data architecture, right? It's no longer, as everyone knows here, an operational data store. So now what are we doing to totally change, and don't get back to Esteban about how this architecture hasn't changed, because it has, right? How are we truly, and Databricks isn't solving the problem, and Snowflake isn't solving the problem. And so now what is going to be that next gen data architecture that really can bring together that unstructured and structured data and really use it across the organization in a cost-effective way? And that's part of the problem we haven't solved. From content to voice to text to imaging, everything needs to be in that architecture.
I don't want to, but I'm going to have to quote for one of my favorite movies, Black Man, the first one, when they go to get the testing done, and at the end they say, this is exactly what we expected from all these years of being raised by the structures that we built around. All the comments that you guys are making, I'm missing the data architecture hasn't changed in 40 fucking years, and it won't change in another 40 years. I mean, what changed is the ability to store more. We create more data that is useless than ever before.
Oh God, it has
changed. We ever did.
It has
changed. Not changed.
By using data in streaming ways, vector database.
So you put the data in a different bucket. You put the data in a different bucket. How is that different?
Nah, the data architecture has changed over the years.
Thank you, Bob.
Being somebody who has built most of these systems, I can tell you that the data architecture has extremely changed over the years.
Hannah doesn't count.
And it's rapidly changed over the last 2 years.
Look, but I think the data architecture has changed. But the ignorance inside of an enterprise about what to do to data has not changed.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Totally agree there.
Right?
Totally agree.
It hasn't changed. And that's why things like, all this overhype about CDPs and all this stuff. And like having designed 2 of them, I can say, look, there is merit to it, but the problem exists that they are overhyped because most enterprises still don't know what to do with the CDP at the end of the day. Most people think
they already have one, and they don't.
They don't.
It doesn't matter if they do or they don't.
Because a lot of them think they have
architectures have changed.
That's right.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Data store.
A CDP is not a different architecture.
It's not a CRM database. It wasn't designed for that. It was designed to be able to capture signals both internally and externally and bring them together to make real-time decisions. That was the whole premise behind it. Right.
Hey, Bob, you didn't actually, Bob, you haven't answered this round's question yet. And I was going to.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
I was going to ask you because I forgot to bash something I really wanted to bash. So maybe you can work this into your answer in some form. I really wanted to bash is overhyped hyper-personalization.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Can you bear down on that maybe?
Unless hold on. But keep in mind that Bob invented hyper-personalization.
Look, this whole thing about hyper-personalization is just bullshit, right? Because it is not possible. All I got to say is, has anybody ever used a personalization tool? Has anybody ever actually seen what it takes to do personalization? It is so manual. What you have to code to actually do personalization is so humongous, right? Which is why you can only do personalization on small use cases at the end of the day, because this concept of hyper-personalization, everybody talks about it. All the marketing people, oh yeah, this is it's absolute bullshit because no company can afford to do hyper-personalization at the end of the day. And by the way, if you think about just content, let's come back to the whole aspect about content. Content is so decentralized in an organization today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm saying the supply chain and managing it is really important.
And they don't even know where half their content is at the end of the day. And, if you look at a large enterprise, how many CMSs do they have? Most of them have unbelievable amounts of CMSs, right? But, content, I think, is the one piece that we're not spending enough time on because it is important and it's everything, right? It's always been there, but it's never been as important as it is now. And that is the whole life cycle of content from creation to storage to monetization. There's none of the vendors are spending enough time on this at the end of the day.
No. And Bob, right? I remember a decade ago, even taking a look at it from the point of view of sales and sales content, and nothing ever really came about that, right? Marketing content is a given, but it is content. And then look at where we're now we're screwed because we got generative content, right? Yeah. How are we going to manage it? How are we going to control it, secure it?
How are you going to make sure that how are you going to do quality assurance?
Yeah.
And this is my one thing about Gen AI that really worries me is how are you going to test it to make sure that it's reliable, it's accurate, it's, you put it in the hands of people, and where's the QA for this stuff at the end of the day, right? I think you have to be very careful with what you do with this and make sure that you got to put some safeguards in place, because just turning these tools loose to people is really dangerous at the end of the day. And that's why I still believe that the Gen AI is overhyped, right? Because there's a lot of talk, but the reality is it's not really ready for prime time broad usage. Let's be clear, right? It's not there yet.
But Bob,
hey guys,
hold on. 30 seconds. But turning tools to untrained people, it's always been dangerous for the enterprise. We just do it because we don't have an option by peer pressure. And now back to your host.
All right. So here's what we'd like to do. Brent, you want to take it through what
Yeah.
What do you guys think this is your show now?
No.
Hey man, we're still waiting for No BS with Bob to come off of here.
Next Friday. Next Friday.
Hey, I've been on vacation.
Can you do me a favor? Can somebody tell Sven to stop hyping SAP on the comments?
All right, let's leave Sven alone. He's a member of the team.
Yeah,
here.
seriously,
That's
this
right.
whole NVIDIA SAP thing makes me want to puke at the end of the day.
All right. Well, now that we're going into our giving you guys each a final statement to make, so each take a minute and just whatever you want to share with this last statement of yours, we'll do it. I'm going to start with Sheryl Kingstone.
And by the way, before you start, a minute literally means a minute.
Although, can I get some bounce on that? I mean, anything at all, or like what are we talking about? CRM CX or anything at all?
Now let's leave it to anything at all.
Yeah.
Anything at all is what is always near and dear to my heart, which is always, and Bob will agree, it's always about the data and the content and bringing it all together and using it strategically across the enterprise. And we're not going to be able to do that until we break down not just the silos of the data, but the silos of the processes across enterprises. We're still within our own little departments, and we've got so much opportunity to improve customer experiences, whether that's going to be in service, which I am completely, that's like the number one thing we need to fix, because it's one of those number one unsatisfactory elements that will really piss off your customers. And then let's deal with marketing. And marketing is getting all the hype and service is getting relegated to the back seat. And it should be the other way around. And it starts with breaking down the silos across the business, utilizing the data that we have, and fixing, again, the content, the insight that's there.
Thank you.
Who should we call on next, Paul?
Bob. Bob?
Oh, me. Oh, yeah, perfect. So, look, I agree with Sheryl. I think the data is, it's still a key issue, right? Everything is about data and content nowadays. But the other piece I will say is, look, the industry keeps missing the mark. And that is, we still keep building dumb applications at the end of the day. We don't have smart, intelligent applications, right? This is why we don't progress in the industry. We keep plugging these little pieces like, Gen AI, voice, analytics into these platforms that are, first of all, antiquated. And secondly, the issue is they're still dumb applications at the end of the day. There is no intelligence in a CRM system. None. Sorry. You can say what you want. There is none. The intelligence comes from the user. It's all up on the user to really, it's a pull system. It's only as good as what you can pull out of it at the end of the day. We need to flip that. We need to start building the technology is there now to build smart applications. And I hope that some vendor will come along and build the next smart gen CRX system that will really revolutionize the industry, because that's what's missing today. We're still dealing with old platforms that are 20 plus years old.
Thank you. Brohammer.
So I made a list of all the misconceptions of Gen AI, and it's about 25, and we only covered like 3. But what I'm going to say is that the enterprise collectively, and that means all of us watching, including the really smart commenters, we have a collective responsibility, especially with this technology, but in general, to put our heads together and better understand this, because this is rather profound, and we need to start being a lot smarter because there's so much junk and hype out there. The good news is that the enterprise has a chance to create better and more accurate AI of all kinds by refocusing on the problems with data, process, and culture that we've described in this broadcast. So this is the opportunity that's put in front of us, because if you just let these systems loose, they're not going to be accurate or useful in enterprise context. So will the enterprise step up? Because the consumer tech marketplace has always made fools of the enterprise from a technology standpoint, whether it's the smartphone or UX stuff, mobile, everything was consumer first. Now the enterprise has a chance to show the consumer side how to do AI in a responsible and ethical way that is accountable to humans and not abused. So let's see this. And second of all, I just wanted to point out that most of the thinkers that established the deep learning precedents on which Gen AI is built have acknowledged that scale is not going to solve the shortcomings, and they've moved on. And they're trying to figure out how to solve the inherent problems with these models. Enterprise vendors don't seem to be aware of that. They don't realize that they're shilling something that even the creators, people like Jan LeCun, even Sam Altman has admitted that scale doesn't work to solve these problems. So we need to wake up and realize the scientists have moved on to try to fix this. We can't pretend like it's fixed.
All right. And the irascible, close us out.
You killed my comment was going to be, look, if he managed to break down the data silos, create smart co-pilots and agents to deliver hyper-personalized end-to-end customer experience that are customer-centric and focused on true value outcomes that the enterprise is seeking for, you still got shit at the end. So stop worrying about that. Build a good infrastructure and let your customers do whatever the fuck they want to do and get out of their way. End of the story. Thank you.
All right. And there we have it.
Oh, that was so nicely tied up in a nice little bow at the end of.
Yeah,
I think you need more
fiery-
shows.
Oh, with razor
I think
blade.
you need more
Anything
shows
for you,
like
Brent.
this.
Anything
will.
for you, my brother.
To your point.
No, you know what? This is great. Maybe we're gonna have to do more than one great debate this year, because
Or we could always do a spin-off.
we could do. Hey, all right,
We
we're in
have
the spin-off.
unlimited capability with PPN.
You know, you could actually
Very
torture
limited
me.
money. Very
You could
limited
torture me
money.
and make me moderate those debates. That would be fantastic.
Yeah,
I can't say
somehow.
anything, but I gotta listen to everything.
I think the next topic we should address is the effect of AI on society and what the reality is there, because all of these freaking gurus in AI keep downplaying the fact that there's really no effect on society, but you know, the reality is there's going to be a dramatic effect, and there'll be a lot of people out of work once this stuff really takes off.
I mean, it took us 15 years to figure out the true effect of the smartphone on society. So there's no reason that the effect of AI on society will be realized before at least a decade, you know. So
All right.
Well,
This has been
unfortunately,
great.
it's happening already. It's happening already with the realities of deep fakes and the degradation of science by bogus articles in scientific journals. So the threat is now, but that's another show for another time.
Yeah,
because we're out of time.
thank you, Brohammer. Thank you for putting the end to this. We're gonna do this again. It'll be in one form or another, but it'll be done again. But thanks to everybody on screen and everybody in the comment section, because this was some pretty fiery stuff that just went on this last half hour or hour, whatever it was.
It was perfect.
It was.
Did I behave properly, Brent? Is it okay? Did I do okay
You
with that?
behaved as expected, cuz you behaved as expected. All right.
It's trying to be nice, you know.
All I gotta say is,
we run the
you
disclaimer?
you guys should try having to work with him full time.
Oh, stop it! It was the best time of your life, you know it.
All right. And so
You hired him.
before we leave. So Bob, is there a no BS with Bob coming up next week? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, there is. I'm hooked for it. I can't cancel this
No,
one.
not this time. It's too late.
All right, we are going to be looking out.
March 29th.
I was supposed to be in Bali, but I canceled my trip just to do the show.
I'm
Wow.
sure.
Wow.
Bob,
I'm so sure you did.
You're going to go to see the Buffalo Bills war room for the draft or something. But yeah.
You're right in Bali.
All right. Well, thanks to Bob Stutz, Esteban Kolsky, Sheryl Kingstone, and the Brohammer, John Reed, for doing this. We will definitely be doing it again. Thanks to everybody who watched us, and we will see you maybe next week. I don't know if we're doing a CRM Playaz because we're both going to be on the road. So maybe
I'll be back. You'll be on the road, but yeah,
we'll figure it out. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
In the meantime, thanks a lot, folks. We'll see you down the road.
Take care.